Item: SCP-759. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures: all samples of SCP-759 are to be stored in wide-mouthed, airtight ceramic or glass-lined containers. Samples are to be kept at temperatures no lower than 0.9 degrees Celsius and no higher than 11.4 degrees Celsius unless in active use. Once per week, the following procedure is to be observed by the assigned personnel for each active sample. Record date, time of feeding, feeder name, and feeder emotional state at time of feeding. Open sample container. Record visual olfactory condition of sample. Pour off and retain upper layer of liquid or stir into main sample as assigned by Foundation orders. Remove 125 grams of sample in an airtight inert container. Retain for ongoing analysis or other use as required. Add 125 grams unbleached, unbromated all-purpose white flour and 125 grams pure distilled water. Stir with clean, unpainted wooden implement until fully incorporated. Seal container and return to cold storage. All removed samples are to be tracked and accounted for. Description: SCP-759 is a 500-gram mass of sourdough starter composed primarily of wheat flour and water. The starter's active component is an ongoing culture of wild yeasts, including Candida milleri and Saccharomyces exiguus, in symbiotic balance with multiple strains of lactobacillus and acetobacter organisms. The original sample first came to Foundation attention after a sudden spontaneous outbreak of attempted murders motivated by apparently baseless jealousy in Redacted County, Vermont. Without exception, the would-be murderers had recently participated in a pancake breakfast fundraiser at the local Methodist church. Further investigation led directly to a single batch of old-fashioned melt-in-your-mouth sourdough flapjacks produced by a chef with a long-standing untreated case of borderline personality disorder. The chef's starter was confiscated and replaced with a visually and olfactorily indistinguishable sample of equal mass and volume. Like all starters, SCP-759 acquires a certain amount of its internal composition from its immediate environment. What distinguishes it from other sourdough is its ability to absorb the emotional state of the individuals who tend it, feed it, and bake with it, and transmit that emotional state or a close derivative thereof to anyone who consumes the resultant end product. Relevant variables include length of exposure and intensity of emotional state. Absorption of emotional information ceases upon the baked product achieving 57.5 degrees Celsius for 1 full minute. Testing of emotional information absorption while samples are in a frozen or dried state is ongoing, but preliminary evidence indicates any such absorption is slowed to the point of negligibility.